Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Celestial Tree. I'm an astrologer, intuitive reader, and soul psychologist as well. And today we're going to be chatting about the upcoming Venus retrograde cycle, which will happen from March 2nd, where it will go retrograde in the sign of Aries. And then around the 25th of March, it will move backwards into the sign of Pisces, where it will be until April 13th. I think this retrograde cycle is 42 days. So there's going to be a lot of reviewing and a lot of reassessing in regards to things like relationships and money, which is what Venus rules over. Before I get started, here is a gentle reminder that if you would like a reading from me, you can book with me at my website at celestialhealingrealm.com. And remember to subscribe to my channel for more horoscopes and astrology updates as well. As I said in my last video, I will be on a break soon. So I won't be able to give you guys your full moon lunar eclipse horoscopes, the lunar eclipse in Virgo, and I won't be able to give you your Mercury retrograde horoscopes, but I will be back posting on YouTube hopefully around the 25th of March, so I can give you guys your horoscopes for the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. So if you don't see an upload from me here or on my blog, on my website, do not be alarmed. I'm just on a break. So yeah, I will be posting about it on Instagram. So be sure to follow me on Instagram at celestialxtree, because I will be posting some information here and there, but I won't be like doing like full horoscopes or anything like that. So the planet of love, money, aesthetics, and art goes retrograde every year and a half. And we didn't have one last year, but we did have a Venus retrograde in Leo in the second half of 2023. Of course, planets don't actually move backwards, but because of Venus's orbital pattern, it appears to do so from Earth for around 40 to like 43 days. Venus rules over relationships, money, aesthetics, art, values. So during the retrograde cycle, during every Venus retrograde cycle, these are the areas of our lives that typically get like an overhaul or a reassessment in some way. Most astrologers will tell you that it's not a good time for new financial endeavors, getting married, starting a new relationship, and things like that. And I would second that very loudly, because when Venus goes retrograde and we begin something new, in most cases, it's very easy for us to become dissatisfied once the retrograde is done, and things kind of feel a lot more like hazy and unclear. So it is a good time to like return to things. So return to issues that haven't been solved, return to money making in ways that we used to, and kind of clear up any relationship baggage that we might be holding on to. I'm always saying that if your exes are coming back during Mercury retrograde, then Venus retrograde is like that but on steroids. I've already heard from some of my like friends and even some of my clients that this has already been happening during Venus retrograde. Not during Venus retrograde, but there's a period before Venus goes retrograde called the shadow period or the retro shade. Just before the cycle begins, and it seems as though this Venus retro shade period has been bringing back a lot of people from the past already, people who you might not have even considered to be like old flames and stuff, but they're coming back anyway. So clearly Venus is indicating that some of us have some unfinished business to take care of during the retrograde cycle. So with that being said, I am going to give you guys your horoscopes. Please do remember to listen to both your sun sign and your rising sign as well. Aries suns and Aries rising. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your first house of your identity, your physical body and appearance, and your life path from March 2nd until March 25th. and then it will retrograde back into your 12th house of rest, spirituality, and the subconscious, where it will be until around April 13th. So between the 2nd and the 25th of March, while Venus is retrograde in your first house, this might be a period where you feel like a little bit lazy. You might be lacking in energy generally, and it might feel quite difficult to motivate yourself to do the things that need to get done. Venus is all about how we relate to others, so this could be a period where you might find it difficult to get along with people. People might get under your skin a lot more, and you might find it quite hard to compromise with others as well. The good news is that your physical appearance might be under review. How you present to the world might be under review. So you might be doing a lot of thinking about like your personal image. And I feel like it's important to review these things once in a while to make sure that how we present to the world is like authentic, and making sure that it matches up with how we feel internally and our inner self-esteem. So take some time to think about how you're feeling on the inside, and whether or not changing the outside might help boost how you feel on the inside. From the 25th of March until around the 13th of April, Venus will move backwards into your 12th house. And this might be a time where things feel a little bit hazy. Things might come up for you to address, especially things from the past around like love and money. And it might be difficult to find the energy to deal with it. I feel like there could be some insomnia in the second half of the Venus retrograde. The 12th house rules over rest. So there might be some times where you're waking up randomly in the night or struggling to sleep and stuff like that. I won't lie to you. I'm always going to keep it real with you, Aries. There might be times where you feel uncomfortable during this retrograde cycle, but I'm here to remind you that this energy is temporary, and you can combat some of these things by just being like really honest about how you're feeling. The 12th house is also solitude as well, so there might be times where you just want to be on your own, but it might be good to reach out to people in your support network or loved ones if you are feeling like a little bit overwhelmed or you have kind of like intense feelings. Venus will go direct in your 12th house around the 13th of April, so after that you should feel a lot more clearer about yourself, about the way that you want to present, and things should feel a lot less hazy, and plus you should be able to sleep better as well. Taurians, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your 12th house of rest, spirituality, and the subconscious from March 2nd until March 25th. And then it will move backwards into your 11th house of friends, groups, community, and long-term goals for the future. So between the 2nd of March and the 25th, while Venus is making its way through your 12th house, I'm not going to lie to you, the key word here is definitely tired. You might be feeling like you have no energy to get things done, and that might be because you're finding it kind of difficult to sleep during this time. The 12th house does rule over rest. I was going to say west. The 12th house rules over rest. So when you have planets retrograde in this area of your chart, we do see bouts of like insomnia and trouble falling asleep as well, which I know you, Taurus, loves sleep. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. This could also be a time where something comes to light in regards to your money or your love life, Taurians. The 12th house rules over things that are hidden, and it also rules over the past as well. So things might come to light around this time, and I would always encourage being open and honest during a Venus retrograde in this area of your chart, because it kind of makes things easier in the long run. After March 25th, Venus will move back into your 11th house of friends and groups. So this might be a time where you're kind of feeling a little bit iffy about your social circles. You might have some issues that you have to work out in regards to like your friendships. Your friends also might end up being like a source of frustration. When you're in a group setting, you might feel a little bit weird. And when I say weird, I mean like you might feel like you kind of want to shift quietly to the side and blend into the background a little bit. What I would say is if you do feel weird with your friends at any point, try to consider if your needs are being met by your friends. Ask yourself if you're around the right people. After the 13th of April, you might feel a lot clearer in regards to your friends and connections, and things should feel like they have a lot more forward motion. Gemini suns and my fellow Gemini risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle through your 11th house of friends, groups, and long-term goals for the future between March 2nd and March 25th. I was going to say 21st. Then it will move backwards into your 10th house of career, public reputation, and status until April 13th. So during the first part of this retrograde cycle, your social circles and your friends might become a little bit of like, might become a source of frustration. You might find it difficult to get on with the friends that you have. And I feel like when you're in a group setting, you might feel a little bit out of place and kind of like you want to fade into the background a little bit. It's going to be really important that you do reassess your friendships and ask yourself if you are able to kind of meet the needs of your friends, as well as if your current friends are actually meeting your needs. You might even let go of some friendships during this time as well, and if they need to go, then let them go is what I would say. After March 25th, when Venus moves back into that 10th house space, this might be a time where you feel kind of dissatisfied with your career. You might find it really difficult to motivate yourself to do like career related stuff. And you might be feeling a little bit dissatisfied with like your work goals and your aspirations as well. I feel like if those things need reviewing, then this is the perfect time to review them, to be honest. This could also be a time where you might have some trouble getting along with like people in positions of authority. So bosses, mentors, even parents as well. The 10th house also rules over those in authoritative positions. You might be really conscious of how you like present and what other people think of you. And I feel like it's really difficult not to take things personally when Venus is retrograde in this area of your chart. I feel like it will be really important to remind yourself that what other people think of you and how they perceive you is nowhere near as important as how you view yourself. So keep that in mind during the second half of this retrograde cycle. After the cycle's done, after the 13th of April, you should be feeling a lot more secure when it comes to yourself, how you present to the world, and your career goals as well. Cancerians, Cancer suns and Cancer risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle on March 2nd in your 10th house of career, status, and public reputation until the 25th of March. And then it will move back into your 9th house of higher learning, overseas travel, and beliefs until April 13th. So during the first part of this retrograde cycle, there might be times where you feel really unmotivated to do things like related to your career. You might be feeling really dissatisfied with your career goals, and you might find it difficult to get along with the people that you work with, especially those in positions of authority like bosses and mentors. This is a really good opportunity to reassess your career goals and make sure that they are aligned with where you're at now and the stuff that you've been learning, especially the stuff you've been learning during that Mars retrograde cycle that we've just had. This could also be a time where you find that you're more concerned with how people perceive you. You might take things quite personally, and you might even find yourself overthinking in regards to like people's perceptions of you. I feel like it's really important to remind yourself that the most important person when it comes to how you perceive yourself is you. Just putting that out there. After the 25th of March, you might find that your worldview is undergoing some changes. Things might feel a little bit unclear and a little bit hazy in regards to how you want to expand your personal horizons. Your moods might feel like they're kind of oscillating between being really, really optimistic about the world and about your future, and then feeling really, really pessimistic. And it might be kind of hard to pinpoint exactly why you feel that way. I feel like my thing is, it would be a really good idea to focus on what you can control and put your energy towards, put your efforts towards like the little things, the mundane sort of parts of life, you know, what you do have control over. I feel like is a better way to focus some of that overthinking energy, that mental energy, the mind gymnastics, I call it. If you are traveling during the Venus retrograde period, especially in that second half of the March 25th, then do take extra time to account for delays. And if you're studying something or you're learning anything, you might feel really, really lazy and really unmotivated to kind of do things related to that. So that could be like reading, writing, studying, revising. You might have to try and find some really like unique ways to motivate yourself to get it done. Kind of switch it up, you know, or return to something that motivated you before, like return to like why you even started studying in the first place. That might help. Remind yourself that this energy is temporary, and know that you're probably, I don't know why I can't speak. It's not even retrograde season right now. Remind yourself that this energy is temporary, and you will probably feel a lot better and feel like things have a lot more forward motion after April 13th. Leo suns and Leo risings. I feel like I say Leos the same way every single time. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your 9th house of higher learning, overseas travel and beliefs from March 2nd until March 25th. And then it will move backwards into your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy and psychological transformations as well. And it will be in that area of your chart until the 13th of April. So in the first part of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where you find it really difficult to motivate yourself in terms of like your worldview and the expansion of your worldview. Whether it's like studying or traveling, things that broaden your mind might seem a little bit like daunting and a little bit less appealing to you. You might not feel like making like big plans and setting goals for yourself. It just seems long, and it feels like some of the things that you originally like cared about might not bring you as much joy. Like that could be like traveling or studying and things like that. You might also feel like your mood is like swinging between feeling really optimistic and really pessimistic. And I know that might not sound like much, but I feel like it's important to lean into your moods. I feel like our moods can teach us a lot about what we need and what is lacking from our lives. So don't get too caught up in trying to figure out why you feel the way you do. I would encourage you to just kind of feel it and then figure it out when you have the energy to do so. Also, if you are traveling between the 2nd and the 25th of March, do leave some extra time because there could be some delays. After the 25th of March, when Venus moves into your 8th house, you could see the return of past lovers, those you've been intimate with. And there could also be some financial problems that return in order to be addressed as well. When it comes to finances, it is a really good time to settle any kind of outstanding debts and take care of any issues that arise. But when it comes to lovers, I would flag that their return is temporary. So I would think twice about restarting anything romantic with the people that may return to your life. If there were reasons why the relationship failed, it's probably worth thinking about and kind of asking yourself, has anything actually really changed, you know? I know you guys know what I'm saying, because for some of you, it's already happening. After the 13th of April, things should feel a lot clearer, and your will and your energy to make changes will hopefully feel a lot stronger than it did during the retrograde cycle. Virgos, Virgo suns and Virgo risings. Venus will begin its retrograde through your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy and psychological transformations from March 2nd until March 25th. And then it will move backwards into your 7th house of relationships, one-to-one connections and contracts, where it will be until the 13th of April. So in the first part of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where you do see the return of previous financial issues. The 8th house rules over shared resources, so these issues that come up could be related to like a partner's money, or a loan or a debt or anything like that. It is actually a good time to pay off any debts that you have, and it is a good time to settle any financial issues that come up as well. The 8th house also rules over intimacy, so this means that you are likely going to see the return of previous lovers, and those you've been intimate with in the past. I will always say that if there are like unsolved issues or like closure that needs to be had, then this is a good time to kind of sort those things out. But when it comes to restarting an old relationship, I feel like this is something that kind of needs to be really carefully considered, because some relationships end for very good reasons. So if you do have ex-lovers coming up wanting to kind of reignite that spark with you, ask yourself if anything has changed. Consider if this is something that will be beneficial for you in the long run. Very, very important questions. So after the 25th of March, in the second part of this Venus retrograde cycle, it might feel like matters of like love and relationships and how well you connect with others are strained during this time. Whether or not you're in a partnership, the people that you feel closest to can feel like the hardest to get along with. It might feel difficult to kind of enjoy your one-to-one connections, and it could feel really difficult to compromise and find middle ground. What I would say is communication is everything with this transit. Try not to let things slip by and settle underneath the carpet, because then you end up with a big pile of like unspoken stuff under the carpet, and that can make things worse in the long run. So just be mindful of that, I think. It's also likely that past relationships may resurface around this time as well. It's important to note that in both parts of Venus retrograde, past lovers will probably be making an appearance. That is the nature of Venus retrograde, unfortunately. After April 13th, it should feel a lot easier to compromise, find middle ground, and just get along with your loved ones overall. You might feel a lot clearer when it comes to your needs and the needs of those closest to you, which will benefit everybody going forward. Librans, Libra suns and Libra risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, one-to-one connections and contracts between the 2nd of March and the 25th of March. And then after the 25th, Venus will move back into your 6th house of daily routines, work, health, and habits, where it will be until the 13th of April. So in the first half of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where past lovers pop up, and some of them might even try to restart something with you. If there's anything that needs sorting out in regards to your relationships from the past, especially if it involves closure, then this is the best time to address those things and kind of put them to rest. But if these past connections come up wanting to kind of rekindle things, do give it some deep thought. Think about how much has changed and whether or not that is something that would be beneficial for you in the long run. This might also be a time where your closest connections feel a little bit strained. It might feel really, really difficult to compromise and find middle ground with your loved ones. The people closest to you might be like a source of frustration, and they might be getting under your skin more than usual. My advice here would be to not leave anything unsaid. Um, Communication is really, really important here. You don't want a situation where all the things that are left unsaid kind of pile up under the carpet. So, and then you have this carpet with like a big pile of like unspoken stuff. So try and get your feelings out, even if it is difficult, because that would be like a good way to work with the Venus retrograde. After the 25th of March, this might be a time where you feel a little bit disorganized, a little bit unmotivated in regards to work. You could, you might find that like the people that you work with are a source of frustration, and it might feel difficult to get along with them. You might also be feeling quite lazy when it comes to like health related things. I would explore different ways of looking after yourself. That could be like different diets, different exercise routines, and even returning to things that improved your health like previously. That's a really good way to work with that second part of the Venus retrograde cycle. If you do feel kind of scattered or disorganized in some way, try to focus on the little things, whether that's like cleaning up an area of your house or finishing a work-related project. Try to view those things, even though they might feel small, try to view them as like big accomplishments. Even if it feels like you're like, this ain't even that big of a deal, I feel like sometimes we miss the small wins, whether it's like cleaning up somewhere or like finishing up something that we've been working on. Like that's a win. After April 13th, things should feel a lot clearer, and you might find that your motivation and your drive to kind of engage in your daily routines and handle work stuff returns. So until then, try to take it one day at a time. Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. Venus retrograde will begin in your 6th house of health, day-to-day routines, habits and work between the 2nd of March and the 25th of March. And then it will move backwards into your 5th house of children, hobbies, creative expression, dating and pleasure, where it will be until the 13th of April. So during the first part of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where you feel like your motivation for things, like your daily routines and your health and work, you might feel like your motivation is just lacking, basically. It might feel like you lack structure during this first part of the Venus retrograde, and you might even feel quite stressed and disorganized at times. And I feel like things like working out and kind of taking care of yourself in terms of like how you nourish your body, and even how you nourish your mind, might feel harder to do. Typically, retrograde periods are not the time for starting new things. But I feel like in this case, it might be good to switch up your routine just for a little bit. Even switching up your health practices as well and trying something new, just to see if that helps with some of the stagnancy that you might be feeling during this retrograde period. This could also be a time where your colleagues and just work in general might become like a source of frustration. You might find it difficult to get on with those that you work alongside. And you might be feeling really dissatisfied with your work environment as well. What I would say is that if you are having feelings like that, it might be time to kind of review your work environment and reassess your relationship to the job that you have, and see if it's something that you want to continue with. After the 25th of March, when Venus moves into your 5th house, this could be a period of time where you find it difficult to see eye to eye with a romantic partner, or with your children if you have any. Your loved ones can kind of feel like a little bit lazy and a little bit rebellious, and you're kind of like, can you just work with me here? You know, that kind of energy. And I feel like that could cause some issues within your home, like if you live with your partner or if you have children. If you are creative, this is a time where you might be feeling kind of uninspired. Like what you're working on creatively might not bring you as much joy as it used to. And you can even feel like you're having like creative blocks as well. I do feel like it's worth slowing down during this retrograde period and kind of reconnecting to what has previously inspired you. Maybe revisit some of your old projects and kind of go down memory lane in order to reconnect with that original inspiration. If you're writing, it could be thinking about what inspired you to write in the first place. Same goes with like music or photography, whatever it is. Whatever you engage in creatively, try to kind of cast your mind back and think about your why. After the 13th of April, you should feel like your connection to your creativity is kind of rejuvenated, and you hopefully find that it's easier to get on with your partners and your children as well. Sagittarians, Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your 5th house of children, hobbies, creative expression, dating and pleasure between the 2nd of March and the 25th. And then Venus will move back into your 4th house of home, family, the past and your personal life, where it will be until the 13th of April. So in the first part of this retrograde cycle, it's likely that if you have partners, I don't know if I said partners, if you have children or if you have a partner, or if you have multiple partners, this might be a time where it feels a little bit difficult to get on with them. They could get under your skin more. They might appear kind of like a little bit lazy, a little bit rebellious, which could rub you the wrong way. And I wanna let me be the one to reassure you that it's probably not that they're more lazy or more rebellious. They might just have things going on with them that are kind of outside of your perception and you're not aware of it yet. Also, if you are creative, this might be a time where you feel kind of blocked up inspirationally and creatively as well. You might feel like the creative projects that you engage in and the things that you're working on aren't really bringing you as much joy as they originally did. So this is a really good time to revisit your old work and your old sources of inspiration. Reconnect with your original why, and that could help shift some of the creative blocks that you might have. After March 25th, this could be a time where you find it difficult to manage things within your home. So like if something goes wrong within the home or if something breaks, you might not feel like dealing with it straight away. You could be reassessing and reviewing how you navigate life at home, and you could even be reconsidering if your living space and your home environment is conducive to your growth and development as a person. It might feel like where you're living is not, do you know what I mean? Like it's not helping. So it might be worth thinking about some of the things that might help it feel a little bit more like comforting and a little bit more nurturing as well. If you're moving house or if you're buying or selling a house, this could be a source of frustration. It might feel like it's taken forever to sort things out, and there could be like issues with like delays and stuff like that, and it kind of feels like they've come out of nowhere. This is also a time where you might find it difficult to get on with family members. You might find that they get under your skin a lot more, and you could end up having some disagreements with them as well. I feel like it would be a really good idea to think about your needs and your emotional foundation and consider if your family are meeting those needs and helping you feel more secure emotionally. After April 15th, not April 15th, fake news. After April 13th, family issues and home issues should feel a lot smoother. And you might find that you have a lot more energy to deal with those things as well. Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your 4th house of home, family, the past and your personal life from March 2nd until March 25th. And then Venus will move back into your 3rd house of communication, siblings, local community and local travel as well, where it will be until April 13th. So in the first part of okay, let me start again. In the first part of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where there are issues within like the home and family unit. So if something breaks within the home, it might feel like you don't have the energy to kind of deal with it right away. You might even become dissatisfied with your living space, and you're kind of like reassessing if your living space is helping your mental health, or if is it hindering your mental health. That's kind of the vibe of that. If you're trying to move house, or if you're trying to sell a house, or if you're trying to buy a house, there might be some issues that arise, and those issues could become a source of stress and frustration. This might also be a time where it feels like family members are harder to get along with as well. There could be some family drama that you're either witnessing or you're even a part of as well. It might be worth attempting to redefine what makes you secure within your home and within your family. Do you have what you need to feel secure? And do you have what you need to feel like you have a solid foundation? What needs to change in order for you to feel like your living space and your family are helping your growth and development as a person? After March 25th, when Venus moves back into your third house, this could be a time where you feel misunderstood when it comes to you communicating your thoughts, your feelings, and your opinions. This is especially true when it comes to communication with like siblings or those in your local community. You might feel like mentally it's quite hard to motivate yourself to get things done. You might feel like you don't want to take care of the everyday mundane tasks, like going to the shop or like running errands. This could also be a time where you're not in the mood for like socializing and seeing people and going to events and stuff like that. You might feel like you need some time and space away from everyone, just to collect your thoughts and gather yourself over the next few weeks. Of course, people might take this personally, but those who are in your life for the right reasons will give you the time and space that you need. So I wouldn't worry too much about the people who don't take it well. The third house also rules over technology and travel. So this could be a time where you have difficulties with both of those things. After April 13th, you should be feeling a lot clearer mentally, a lot more up for socializing, and a lot better when it comes to articulating yourself to those around you. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. A Venus retrograde will begin in your third house of communication, siblings, short distance travel, and local community between March 2nd and March 25th. And then Venus will move back into your second house of income, money, values, and self-worth, also talents as well, where it will be until April 13th. So let me just adjust myself, ignore my chair, it's just chatting. So in the first part of this retrograde cycle, it might feel like communication with others is kind of difficult. It might feel like people are misunderstanding your words, and your appetite for socializing in general might be low. You might be like declining event invitations and saying no to friends when they invite you out, just for the simple fact that you're feeling like you need some space on your own and you need to kind of like take some time to yourself. I always say when you do need space away and people take it personally, those people are not really meant to be in your life, because those who understand you won't take it personally, basically. This could also be a time where mentally you just feel like you've had enough. And it could be really hard to concentrate and put your mental energy towards the things that you're working on. This is kind of a time for you to focus on what you can focus on, and prioritize the things that you can, and kind of leave the rest to the wayside. Like, I feel like sometimes we do have periods of time where we just need a rest from like the Monday everyday dealings of life, and this is one of those times. The third house also rules over technology and travel, so you could experience some issues with those things as well. After March 25th, when Venus moves back into that second house space, This might be a time where you feel like indulging, and you might end up overspending out of this need for like comfort, you know, buying things that you don't need, and then you're kind of like kicking yourself afterwards. So I wanted to kind of make you aware of that. The reason I bring this up is because if you do end up in a situation where you're like regretting financial decisions and like thinking about the choices you made financially, and you're kind of like a bit annoyed, and you feel frustrated, it could have an impact on your well-being and your stress levels. Try to consider if the need for comfort, the overspending, if it happens and you are doing it out of this need for comfort, try to consider if it's due to something internal. There could be like a deeper issue that needs working through and kind of reassessed in order for you to get to the root of like why you're overspending, if you are overspending. This might also be a time where you are reevaluating your values and your self-esteem. You might be reassessing your relationship with yourself internally and externally as well. You might be thinking about if your external appearance matches with how you feel on the inside. And you might be thinking about if there's ways to change your external appearance so that it kind of helps you feel your best self on an internal level. Venus retrograde might encourage you to kind of challenge narratives related to your self-worth, especially those narratives that are left behind by like past relationships and old standards that you had set for yourself previously. So just be mindful of that and sort of work with that energy if that is something that does come up. After, I always go to say upper because I'm going to say April. After April 13th, you should be feeling a lot more secure within yourself, whether that's in regards to your self-esteem or your physical or emotional resources as well. Pisceans, Pisces suns and Pisces risings, my fellow Pisces suns. Venus will begin its retrograde cycle in your second house of income, money, self-worth, talents and values between March 2nd and March 25th. And then it will move backwards into your first house of identity, life path, and physical appearance, and also ego as well. So initially in the first part of this retrograde cycle, this could be a time where you feel like overindulging. You might end up overspending out of like a need for comfort, buying things that you don't need and then regretting it later. So if you can try and help it, try not to engage in that. The reason I kind of bring that up is because if you're making certain financial choices and then you're regretting them afterwards, this could have an impact on your stress and your well-being overall. And I kind of want you guys to think about, like, if you do end up into a period where you are overspending and you do have this deep need for comfort, think about if there's anything underlying. Is there anything, is there like a deeper issue that needs to be addressed? I feel like try and take some time to think like, okay, so why am I buying things that I don't need to comfort myself? What is this need for comfort? Where does it come from? Try and ask yourself those kinds of questions. Get to the root of your overspending if you are overspending. This might also be a time where you're kind of reevaluating your self-esteem. You might be reassessing your relationship with your internal self and your external self. So you might be considering if how you look on the outside matches up with how you feel on the inside. And you might be thinking, okay, so how can I change what is on the outside in order for me to feel better on the inside? That might be like dyeing your hair, or, you know what I mean, getting new clothes. What I would say is kind of maybe wait till after the retrograde cycle is over, because you don't want to just brainstorm for now. You don't want to cut your hair or dye your hair or buy clothes that you're just not going to pick up once the retrograde cycle is done. Venus retrograde will probably challenge certain narratives that you have about yourself, especially narratives from like old relationships, and that's going to be a really, really important like deep dive for you to kind of get into. You know, Pisces, we love depth. Sometimes it's too much, but we do love depth. After March 25th, when Venus moves back into that first house space, this might be a period where you feel kind of like unmotivated, kind of lazy. It might feel difficult to kind of motivate yourself to get things done. Venus is also about how we relate to others as well. So this could be a period after the 25th of March where, in terms of relating to people and getting along with people, kind of feels a lot harder to do. Compromising and finding middle ground might feel a lot harder to do. Your physical appearance might be under review as well. You might be thinking about like your personal image. And I feel like it is important to put those things under review, you know, and make sure that how you're presenting it relates to your authentic self on the inside, you know. So this also might be a time where you're having a big review in terms of your life path as well. You might be thinking about how much it's changed over the years and how you feel as a result of some of those changes. You might be reviewing the focus on your life path and kind of how you want to proceed with it going forward after the Venus retrograde cycle is over. So do give it some thought. I feel like thinking about it, kind of like brainstorming about it, is a really good way to work with the energy of Venus retrograde. So do find some time to sit, reflect, assess or reassess and plan ahead. And then after April 13th, you should be feeling a lot more secure. You should be feeling ready to kind of apply all the helpful changes that you've considered during the retrograde cycle. And hopefully you'll be feeling a lot more ready to go forward with your plans for your life path. So that is all I have for you guys today. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my new channel for more astrology updates and horoscopes. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. They're both linked in the description box below. And leave a comment with your thoughts and questions about this Venus retrograde. Like I don't want to say I'm excited for it, but I know it's gonna be interesting. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments. Happy healing, everyone.